Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. And today we have here with us Dan Raper. Dan Raper is the founder and CEO of Showcase Photographers, and he specializes in photographs that helps you sell your home beyond what you typically would have if you just took photos with your phone. Between 2006 and 2019, Raper has done for himself and his team anyway. He doesn't want to take that glory. They've done photography for over 250,000 properties,
Homes,
right?
yeah.
Yes,
250,000 homes is about where we're at. Yes, ma'am.
homes. And they've done at least 35 pictures per property. And they've worked for at least 10,000 unique clients. So you know you're speaking to a professional, one that knows his onions. And he's going to help us understand the benefits of using professional visual storytelling services and how these services can enhance your home selling experience or your home buying experience if you are a home buyer. Dan Raper, the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit about yourself, whether as a photographer or you generally. We just want to know you a little more before we start asking you questions from the sellers.
Sure, sure. So, as you said, we started in 2006. My wife and I used to actually be real estate agents at one time. And we were one of those teams where I got my license just to help her. She was really the front end to the real estate industry career. And so I developed a lot of this marketing for her. And then a lot of agents in her office asked if I would help them with theirs. And it kind of grew into what it is today. We actually never set out to actually put Showcase Photographers together, our company. Um, so originally it was just me photographing, and then I started bringing on more people, teaching them. And so now we're just a network of independent contractors, photographers that all work together to serve our local communities. So it's definitely the most enjoyable job that I've ever had. I love it every day. I actually like getting out and shooting more, but sometimes I get stuck in the office, just the nature of where we are now. But essentially, we help agents bring the physical property to the online marketplace by, getting that physical property into a digital format, which typically is one of three products. It's either photography, videography, or the 360 products. And there's a few different ones of those. When it comes to the products, like I said, we have three basic products, and they come in a lot of different configurations: photography, video, and 360. But out of those three products, we'd have to say that photography is the most important. Then we would rank video second, and then the 360 products third. And the reason we rank them that way uh, goes all the way back to I don't know if you've ever heard of the 5 stages of the buyer behavior model that was developed by John Dewey back in 1910, I think. And it's kind of the foundation of a lot of sales and marketing programs today. But essentially, it says that we as human beings, we kind of go through 5 cycles or 5 stages when we're looking to buy or purchase anything. And the stages, just real quickly, is first we recognize we have a need. That's where it starts, kind of like the beginning of the desire or the need. Then we start searching for what we're looking for. And then once we think that we found what we're looking for, that's stage 2, we go to stage 3, which is where we want to pick it up. We want to evaluate it and decide, is this what I want to purchase? If this is what I want to acquire. And then the 4th stage is when you make the purchase or you make the commitment. And the 5th stage is where you look back and you decide you want a bigger house or a newer car, and you start the whole cycle all over again. So in that 5 stages, when we look at visual media, we look at stage 2, because at stage 2, that's when your attention span is really short. It's information foraging. You're kind of scanning for what you're looking for. If you're online looking for a house, you're scanning through the listings. You kind of narrow it down to the area and the square footage and the price and that kind of thing. And out of the visual media, only photography is effective in that stage 2 mindset. And it's essentially because we can visually consume pictures or images very quickly. I can scan 35 pictures in an instant and decide whether I'm interested enough to go and spend more time on it, looking at the property. So we always look at photography as the most important. And
Hmm.
then after photography, we typically rate video next, because video is typically something someone's willing to see when they hit stage three. The pictures have done their jobs, and maybe they're looking to get more information, and that's where video can really be exceptional, because especially if agents on camera or if we do motion graphics, we can really point out some details. It's more emotional. It's visually experiencing the home, a little bit different from the photos, but it can be very engaging. And kind of interesting to note, for the real estate industry, one thing that we've really leveraged and taken advantage of is that if you create a video for a listing and you put the address in the title of the video, it will come up nearly 100% of the time when someone does a Google search on the address of the home. And that typically is the behavior that you'll find when someone is on maybe one of the big tech websites like homes.com or Zillow. They'll be looking at pictures, and once they find the house that they're interested in from the photos and go through the photos and really experience the home with the photos, eventually they will leave that site to Google the address just to dig a little bit deeper, which is what most everyone does. And these videos come up on the first page search results. So it's a great product to or a way to get another experience of the home in front of the buyer. So photos are most important, then the video, and then 360 we'd rank the third. It is a good product. The only thing you have to consider is that with photography and video, we can present the home, all the rooms and all the spaces and all the details in the way we really want to show them, really in the best light or the best angle and the order and everything, really control the experience. Whereas with a 360, they kind of drop in and they just go wherever they want and they look at whatever they want. So it can be a great product for homes that are, maybe a brand new build. If there's something about the home that, you really would like them to fall in love with the home before they come in, maybe consider some of the other things. 360 may not be the best product. Plus, also, it doesn't get the exposure that video and photos do. Typically, a 360 is seen by a buyer towards the tail end of the buying experience or the shopping. So sometimes it can be a little too late, but still a good product, if you're looking for it. So back to the photos, because the photography is so critical and so important, and really the first exposure that you have to the buyer, that's where you really have to engage them. And when we look at the quality of our work, we really break it into three disciplines. The first discipline is what it takes to get a beautiful picture technically as far as color and exposure. So you look at the shot and you say, wow, that's a beautiful picture. The second is how we identify the subject and how we set composition for the subject. And that's really when we're training, we spend a lot of our time teaching photographers how to really show the rooms and the spaces and the details of the property, or lifestyle shots. But the foundational shots of really showing the rooms and spaces and doing it correctly. And essentially, it's trying to recreate what you experience in real life through the picture, which can be a challenging, because in real life we have peripheral view and we experience a pretty big view of the world. But with pictures, it's just kind of a window to the world. So in our composition standards, we're really working to recreate that natural experience. So we go pretty into a lot of even psychology. We'll frame things into our shot to recreate the experience of peripheral vision by engaging the imagination in certain ways, so that you feel certain things, or you feel like you're in the room. It kind of goes into your peripheral. That's kind of a detailed thing, but we put a lot of thought into that. And then the third discipline is not just that we take a beautiful picture with great color and exposure and great composition, but it's also visual storytelling. So it's what you shoot, it's how the pictures flow through the house, and how they all work together to create this visual story. Because if you do it correctly, it's kind of like reading a real story. When you're reading a book, you're in that world, you're not in your world, right? All your senses are kind of toned down, and you're experiencing the story through your imagination. And if you do the photography right, you can you can experience the same thing in that every picture has a purpose. It flows with the property, and you just forget you're looking at photos. You're just in the home experiencing it.
Mm.
And then the last thing I'd say about photography is that with photography, it's really a great tool to inspect the home and go through the home, because you can spend as long as you want on one photo or quickly move to the next one. You can move around. So it's just a great tool for really experiencing the home. Um, so that's kind of a summary of our products and kind of the order of importance there.
That's an interesting one. Very interesting, especially the part where you said you put in a lot of psychology into, our view, what we see. And as
Hmm.
you're talking, even though I'm looking at you right now, I can see the light by my right hand side, I can see my window, but I'm focused on you though, but I still have that experience. So yeah,
That's
doing
right.
that would mean something for clients. But would you say that since COVID, um, videos have taken over the value that pictures add? Because people want to, considering the fact that a lot of people don't see much need to go there in person that much anymore.
Hmm.
Sometimes they want to see the video to have an idea before they leave their homes or the comfort of their spaces to
Hmm.
see. And interestingly, people are buying from all over the world now and from state to state without
Hmm.
actually going into those homes to see them, because videos are helping. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I would say that if you do the photography right, if you have a complete photo gallery, because if you think about the photos in a photo gallery that's communicating the home, telling the visual story of the home with the media,
Yeah.
uh, every picture is a piece of the puzzle. And if you do the pictures right, they can really go through the home and experience the home in the photos. Where video really comes into play and has adds a lot of value is, like we said earlier, normally someone's not going to watch a video, because if it's a 1 minute video or a 3 minute video, that takes up a lot more of your time. So
Mm.
you're only going to do that if you're really interested. In stage two, you're probably not going to watch a video. If you do, it's like Instagram. You'll watch it for a few seconds and you'll flip to the next one. But with photography, if it's done right, you can really, and we've had a lot of people buy homes sight unseen on just photos. But where the video really comes into play is you're in that stage three mindset where you're interested. The
Mm.
videos are just with music and the transition and the movements. They engage the emotion. And like I say, you can communicate a lot more in the video, because you can have an agent on camera or motion graphics and things like that, or voiceover. And there's so much you can do with video. So video is a great tool when you have their attention. And that's when it can really help sell the homes and get more information.
Got you. I agree with you. Video is a great tool when you have their
Yeah.
attention.
And
That's
I will
one.
say too, with in relation to 2020, 2021, some of that might have to do with people staying at home and shopping more online and making decisions and things. But part of it too is just the evolution of our technology. YouTube becoming more popular, and Instagram and video, and our video consumption. That
Yes.
some of it's just kind of a natural progression of where we are today, that
Mm,
we rely a lot more on video.
mm. I agree with you. I agree with you. Okay, sir. So let's go into some of the questions that clients have asked,
Hmm.
and see how you can answer, those questions
Sure.
that will help them to understand. So the first one I have here has to do with value and impact. So what specific value do your photography and videography services provide to home sellers? And can you share any success stories or statistics that demonstrate their impact on home sales?
Well, we're obviously a little biased on the importance of visual media, but to kind of put it in just kind of in logical terms,
Mm.
reasonable terms, we're we're exposed to so much good media every day now. Used to it was just through television and programming, and now we have our phones and our devices, and we have so much great content media, our expectation levels are really kind of much higher than they were than, let's say, like in 2000 when the internet started, just began. So it's kind of raised all of the expectation levels, right? And it's really all about meeting expectation levels. If you're a buyer and you're searching for a home and you have a lot of inventory to go through, or you just have options, and I think, keep in mind that stage 2 mindset. I keep going back to this 5 stages of the buyer behavior model because it's so critical. If in answering some of these questions, like if you're in stage 2 and you're scanning and you're information foraging, you're not spending a lot of time on anything. You're just scanning pictures, and then you click on, you say, "Oh, this house looks interesting." You click off the thumbnail, and then you scan the photos. And if they don't grab you, if they don't really stop you, you're just going to move on to the next, because there's
Mm,
so many options there. So you might have the greatest listing, but if the pictures really don't connect with the person, that would be probably where you have a missed opportunity. With Showcase, we've always, when I train a photographer, I tell everyone we train, I say, if I were to tell you one thing as a photographer, give you this one piece of information, and you went out and started shooting real estate photography, eventually you would figure out all of our composition standards and everything on your own. And that is that you want to create, your end goal is that you want to create an experience for the end user or the person looking at the photos. You want to create an experience that is has a natural look and feel that makes them feel like they're there. They're in the home,
mm,
and that really is creates like the guidelines of how you compose your shots, what you shoot, how you shoot it to create that experience. And that's what I've spent 20 years training and working on, and trying to scale that, right?
wow.
And it's just because, again, it's expectations. When someone's scanning, you've got to stop them, you got to engage with them, you got to bring them into the home. You don't want to make it hard for them. You don't want them to have to struggle to see the
Mm.
vision, right? So good photography is absolutely critical. If you do nothing else, you really have to have good photos to do everything we just talked about. And then as far as cases, we have had over the years, many times agents will say, yeah, they bought it sight unseen. They just, they couldn't make it in to see the house, and the pictures gave them the confidence that they felt like they were really, knew what they were buying, and getting into. So, um, we like to, it's nice. Our job is kind of nice because we really have an impact on people's lives. Purchasing a home, just like, you being a real estate agent, you're the value you create for your customer is a really important one. It's a big decision for them, and to help them find that home. And then we kind of play a part of that. So we're very much similar to how you would look at it.
Thank you for that. I mean, a lot of people have no idea what the impact that pictures actually make on their homes. They
Mm,
probably assume if we use a phone to take a picture, that should suffice, you know. But in the end, when they see how fast and people's reaction to their homes when we use the pictures that you take,
mhm.
they get the message in the end. But then sometimes it might be too late for those that don't want the pictures, and that's one of the reasons why I'm glad that you're here. The next question has to do with market differentiation. And it says, how do your visual storytelling techniques help a home stand out in a competitive market? And what strategies do you use to highlight its unique features effectively?
Yes. Well, it does, having a good subject is always great. The home has a lot to do with it. And so as a visual storyteller, when we get to a property, it is about, shooting beautiful pictures. So, our techniques of how we do the actual image capture, and in what we go through and our processes to actually be able to go in, do a shoot efficiently. Typically a photo shoot is an hour to an hour and a half for photos. Sometimes it can be less if it's a smaller home. But so we're not inconveniencing the seller, where we can actually get all the image data that we need to produce a beautiful picture. So the beauty of the image is part of it. The second part is really, composing that shot in a way that is really showing the room. To give you an example, a lot of people say first impressions count, and we were talking about that before too. When
Yes.
we go to do a photo shoot, if I'm going to go into the living room per se, just because I come down the hallway and the first shot that I come to is that shot of the family room, isn't necessarily the first shot that I'm going to take. The first shot would be the most beautiful shot of that room. So if I was going to shoot, let's say, I look at the room and I say, well, I see 3 shots here that I want to take to really show this room. I've got one from down the hallway. I've got another one over here that's just a perfect angle that really shows with the fireplace and everything. Just compose a beautiful shot of that room. And then another shot where the kitchen's in the background, and that's where I'm going to go next. So that makes a good last shot. So we actually put some thought into the order that we shoot pictures, and first impressions always count. So it's the beauty of the image and the quality image, doing a beautiful shot. It's knowing how to compose the pictures, and
Mm.
it's telling that visual story. And so it's using those techniques to basically engage the person, engage their imagination, bring them into the home through the photos, and let the house sell itself. And in the shots, we do have our foundational shots that are, if you look in Architectural Digest, or if you look in some different magazines, it's really focused on the emotion of the room. So it's not showing the whole room. It's showing, the shot with the wine glasses and the fireplace and the sitting and it's a living room. You can see that, but it's not really focused on the room. Well, we would, in real estate, we're trying to show the spaces. So we compose our shots a little differently than what you would have for the magazine shots per se. But we'd also do those shots in addition to that, those detail shots or those emotional shots to really kind of add spice to the meal, if you will, and really engage with them emotionally. So as a visual storyteller, it's those foundational shots, telling the story of the home, showing the rooms and spaces, doing it efficiently, getting all the pieces to the puzzle. Matter of fact, if I were to put it into words as far as the number of photos that we shoot, I would say that we try to shoot the least number of pictures necessary to show all the rooms and all the important angles, that every picture has a purpose and everyone's engaging.
Oh, wow. You try to show the least amount of pictures.
Yeah, to show we try to get the least number of pictures necessary to shoot all the important rooms and angles. So it's about efficiency. If you're going to a photo gallery and you see a picture of the living room, and then you see another picture of the living room that's pretty much the same picture,
Mhm.
essentially that's like if you're reading a book and you're reading a book and someone comes up behind you and says, hey, it's like, hey, wait, I was in this book, I was in this story, and you just interrupted me. That's what can happen with the photos. If your pictures are out of order, or if you're missing important shots, or if you have redundant pictures, that can break you out of that trance. It can break you out of that imagination where you're no longer in the home. You're back to your computer saying, wait a minute, that's can you just show me that picture? So it kind of breaks the story. So there is an art to it.
Wow. Wow. I like that. And I like something you said, and you said it adds spice and it engages them.
Like seasoning to the meal. Yeah, some of the details. The 3 types of shots, the way we categorize them, is that you have the foundational shots, which is really focused on the property, rooms, spaces, the yard, and those kind of details. And then you have the detail shots, which would be the fireplace mantle, the beams up in the ceiling, the beautiful, the lighting, the chandelier, things like that. And then you have, and those are like, adding the seasoning to, it's really getting those emotional. Oh wow! And here's this beautiful dining room, and look at the chandelier.
Hmm.
Um, and then the third would be like lifestyle shots. If you had a couple riding their bike down the trail, near the house, or dogs playing in the dog park, and things like that. So it's just kind of mixing in those things into your visual story.
Got you. Sound like engaging their taste buds, if you want
Yes.
if you want to use the analogy of food.
Yeah, we like variety. As humans, visually, we like variety. We like, it adds it really adds, when we're framing a shot, a lot of times, we're trying to focus to bring you into the room, into the space, if that's what the shot's intended to do. And we might have something on the side of the frame. It could be a beautiful vase or a lamp or a piece of furniture. And when we're composing the shot, if when we're looking at what's in the frame, if that object or whatever it is like screaming for attention, like, look at me, don't look at the room, we'll
Mm.
mute that, right? Because we want to bring them into the space, bring them into the room. Everything in the frame needs to work to just say, look how beautiful the space is. Everything's singing the same song. I feel
Wow.
like I'm training to
Yes, I mean, because okay, so because from what you're describing, to me, it sounds like taking a client home and I'm like, I wish this weren't here because everything else is showing a better side of the house, but there might be one thing you're wishing, maybe if this weren't here, they
Mhm.
won't be distracted, right? But pictures can do that for you. Not that you're lying about the house or the state of the house, but they are more what should
Yeah.
I
You want to optimize, you want to enhance the room. You don't want to
exactly the things
exaggerate
that
it
you
or
think they should
misrepresent it.
see? Yes, because you
Yeah.
you really can't find a perfect home.
Yeah.
But there are so many things in different homes that can get you or convince you to buy it if
Hmm.
only you have pictures that enhance those things for you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
thank
yeah. A
you.
common enhancement would be like if with these wide angle lenses that we use on the camera, a typical lens on a full frame camera is a 16 to 35 millimeters, a focal length, and that's where you can open wider and get more of the room in, or you can zoom in tighter. So 16 is wide open and 35 is zoomed in. Well, a lot of some photographers shooting real estate might shoot everything wide open at 16. And the problem with that is if you have a really big room and the wall you're in the direction you're shooting is really far away, opening that wide is really going to exaggerate that room and make it
Mm,
feel, proportionately off. And it might make the room look huge, but now you're kind of misrepresenting the room, really. So when
mm,
we're shooting, one of our composition standards is that we're always trying to, when we're shooting inside the space, we're actually always trying to zoom in a little bit
mm.
to try to, we want to get the whole room in, but we don't want, and we want to maybe enhance it a little bit, but we don't want to exaggerate it. We don't want to set their expectations wrong so that, when they get to the house, their expectations aren't met. So it's finding that balance with things, right?
Thank you for saying that because that was my next question. Like,
Oh, okay, great.
what's the thin line between exaggeration and doing that? So, thank you for explaining that. Let me go to the third question that we have here, which is in the area of professional quality versus DIY solutions. And I think you've touched a bit on those areas. But so, why should home sellers invest in your professional services instead of opting for lower cost alternatives or DIY photography? And how does your work contribute to a higher perceived value of the property?
Yes. Well, when you look at the cost of photography for real estate, your return on investment is there's really no problem with return on investment
Mm,
because you have this physical property in the marketplace is online, it's digital. So to take that physical property and bring it to the digital marketplace, that those photos represent your house. I mean, that's the only experience that someone may have of your house, especially if they're not good, right? You're trying to get them into the home. So meeting those expectations of just kind of what society is looking for as far as professionalism and quality, engaging them with the experience, looking at the photo gallery as a visual story and really taking, you know, in that stage 2 mindset, you only get a few seconds of their time. They're not going to give you any more time unless you earn it.
true.
And the photography, when I say photography is the only visual media effective in stage 2 of the buying process, because our attention span is so short,
Sure.
those photos have to be good. If you do nothing else, do good photos. Because you can spend all your money on a video and your photos aren't good, you've kind of, you know, if the photos aren't good, they'll never see your video. So you've just kind of wasted your money. So I'd say, um, creating a good visual story. The story is what it's all about, right? In life and everything, and translating that story to the buyer in those few seconds to grab their attention and say, I want this house may be what I'm looking for. Let me put that on my list of homes I want to come see. That's
Hmm.
in consideration. That's what you're trying to do. And you really only get a few seconds to do that before they click off to the next house. So photography is absolutely critical more than anything.
Thank you. You notice I was scribbling, right? I couldn't help. I mean, you said something. Those photos have to be good. If
Yeah.
you don't do anything else, if you do nothing else,
Yeah.
do photos, good photos. And I say to my clients, I found myself selling uh, an 8-year-old house in a neighborhood where you have brand new constructions within 24 hours. Literally went on the market and went under contract in 24 hours.
Hmm.
And that's what good photos can do for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
showcase photographers at that. Because
If you gauge more buyers, if you capture more buyer attention to where they will actually give you those few seconds, and you have an opportunity to bring them into that next stage of where they want to really spend some time looking at it, it's just a numbers thing. I mean, the more effective you are at bringing people into that stage three, the more offers you're going to have, the more interest you're going to have. So the photos is the product until they actually come physically see the house. The photography is what they're buying. That's what
yes.
they're looking at.
And for someone joining us maybe in the middle of this, could you reiterate the 5 stages again so they know the
Sure.
need, the
Yeah.
search?
Yeah. Five Stages was developed by John Dewey around 1910. Don't quote me on that. He was a psychologist, philosopher, and it's really kind of a foundation of every sales and marketing uh, program, and it really describes the 5 cycles or stages that we go through as human beings for
Mm,
everything we desire. Anything that we want. First is you recognize you have a need. That's the spark or the explosion. That's the moment you're like, I'm hungry and I want something to eat, or I'm moving and I need a new place to live. Right.
mm,
Second is information foraging. That's stage 2, where you're searching for what you're looking for. And because we're finite creatures and we have only so many hours in the day, it's just natural for us to scan and only give a few moments, make a judgment, and decide whether we're going to move to the next stage, which is that inspection or that evaluation stage 3. And that's when you want to pick up the product, you want to look at it, smell it, taste it, do I want to make the commitment, which is stage 4? Do I want to move in and acquire that thing and buy that thing? And then stage 5, and John Dewey is called buyer's remorse, but it basically kind of describes that we always kind of start the cycle all over again. But
mm,
really, if you think about it as human beings, our ultimate desire is infinite, really. I mean, so are we ever really satisfied, right? So we always kind of get to that point where we're going to start that cycle all over again.
mm,
In the case of like Instagram, for example, Instagram, the need you're trying to fill in Instagram typically for someone is entertainment. So that's why you swipe so fast. You go through all 5 cycles every time you swipe, right? When you're buying a home and you're looking online and you're going through photos and stuff, uh, your need is a home. You're trying to buy a home, so your attention span is different when you're in that mindset. And that's one reason why video can be a good second alternative, because if you put the address of the home in the title of the video, and when people Google the address, which they will when they get into stage 3, that's when you can grab them, because Google owns YouTube, and when you put the address in the title of the video, it's a very relevant hit. So when you search for an address on Google, or as sometimes buyers might be on a website and they see, maybe they come across a home and they click on the main picture to see all the pictures, and the website stops them and says, oh, I'm sorry, before you see these pictures you need to tell me who you are, what your email address is. Those people will typically leave that site, take the address, and just go Google it. So we just Google everything right now that we're interested in, and they always come up on the first page search results. So the video is,
mm,
if you're going to do video, it should be targeted to, if you're using it that way, it can
mm,
be a little bit longer. It can be a 2-minute video, because they're coming into the video interested in that product. If it's an Instagram video or social media video, where people's need is either entertainment, or they're like, oh well, let me go check out their Facebook page. There's a house there, and it's not that they're necessarily looking to buy a house. They're just, that's why Instagram, you might, if you do an Instagram video on the home, you might get, 5,000 views. Well, the algorithm's just pushing the video in front of people that like looking at that. Whereas if you have a YouTube video and it gets 100 views, well, those are much higher quality views, because those people actually Googled the address because they're interested in buying that home or a home in that community. So you're able to really take that person and engage with them on a different level, on a stage 3 mindset level. So the 5 stages are, I think, a really good. It's something I've always really leaned on in developing our products, and really, when I'm talking to agents, where should you spend your marketing dollars? What kind of priority do you put to things? I think it's a really good, simple, foundational thing that everybody should use.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. That was helpful. So let me go straight to the fourth question that we have here, and that is in the area of tailored approach and collaboration. And it says, how do you customize your services to meet the specific needs and goals of individual home sellers? And what advice do you provide to them to help them prepare their homes for a successful photo shoot?
Sure. As far as our products, we're always trying to obviously improve quality, improve the experience in any way we can with the visual media. With photography, it's really scaling it. It's availability. The biggest value that I provide our customers, a lot of our customers don't even realize what that value proposition is, because when they call Showcase, we say, yes, what's convenient for your seller, we'll make it work. We'll do it. And that's really just having the availability. So for us, bringing on a photographer, being able to teach them the art of what we do in our systems, and just being able to scale it and have that availability with photography is important. And we're always looking to improve the quality and the deliverables and that kind of thing. When it comes to video, that's a little different. With video, same thing, but with video, there's so many ways to do video. Anything you can imagine as far as how you want to do a video, and you can really get custom. We've done some custom videos that are just amazing, mind blowing. But so it can be a very simple video, or it can be a very elaborate, very creative video. You just have that flexibility with it. So hopefully that answers your question.
I hope it
I remember
does.
what your question was. I get off on a rabbit hole there.
I hope it does. I mean, because really, I want to believe you've answered some of these questions in between your explanation of the previous ones earlier, especially because if you look at it, what else would you tell someone other than that golden advice you gave, that if you don't do anything, take good photos, really?
Mhm.
And that would literally help you sell. It would say things you don't know how, or you can't say for you about your house, right? Even as a seller, the realtor might not be able to project the house for you as well as the pictures would have if you have very good pictures. So yes, thank you for that. And then let's go to the last but not the least question that we have here, which is, beyond facilitating a quick sale, how can high quality photography and videography enhance a seller's long-term brand and reputation in real estate market? And how do your visuals support broader marketing strategies for that seller?
Okay, so this is directed towards the seller.
Mhm.
Um, maybe repeat that question one more time so I really understand.
So beyond facilitating a quick sale, how can high quality photography and videography enhance a seller's long-term brand and reputation in the real estate market. So the seller wants to make sure that every time they're coming to the real estate market, your picture is able to help them showcase their homes. People people see their homes from, maybe they've sold about a couple. I told you I've sold a couple of homes, and comparing my previous sale to my current sale or whatever sale I have next, what kind of reputation does your videography and photography help them project?
Mhm.
And how do your visual support broader marketing strategies,
Mm.
whether for
Yeah.
the seller or the
Yeah,
agent?
this question in my mind kind of goes to the agent, because as from our we work just for the real estate industry and for real estate agents. We don't really work for the general public, so we're always looking at the agent's brand, and in this question really kind of fits with what we would do, focused towards the agent,
Mm,
because the seller, they just want to get their home sold for as much money as possible and as quickly as possible, right?
right.
But but there, as far as sellers, you have builders, you have a lot of those that have a lot of repeat sales, people that do renovate their homes and just want a quick turn. So it really is. I think being able to take that physical property and have it translate to the online marketplace effectively, to really be engaging, and when people are online, there's just so much information. They're being bombarded with so much.
Right.
You just have to make sure that you're engaging them in that critical time, and creating value for them, that you're not wasting their time, that you're showing them what they're looking for. um, so, like, for agents, it's consistency. When a real estate agent goes into to a seller, and is showing their marketing plan and strategies and things like that, they wanted to be able to deliver on their promise, right? So if all of my photographers, if I just kind of signed up a photographer and they kind of shot however they shot, and we weren't consistent with the product, then you might not be delivering on your promise to the seller, right? So for the agent's brand and long term goals, having that consistency and delivering on the promise and just doing a good job of bringing that physical property to the marketplace is so critical, and a lot of that would translate, for the seller too, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. And so, just so viewers have an idea, how long does it take to take these pictures, and how long does it take to get the pictures back to the
Sure.
seller or the agent?
Sure. It takes traditionally about an hour to an hour and a half, typically at the most, unless it's a really big home. If it's a smaller, like 2,500, 3,000 square foot home, we may only be there 45 minutes if we're doing just photography. Um, and as far as getting the photos back, most of the industry has a 1 day turnaround time, in 24 hours or next day. We've always had two options. We have a second day delivery and a next day delivery by 5 o'clock. And the reason why we have a second day delivery is that we actually give a discount on our services for a 2 day delivery instead of a 1 day, because a 1 day delivery, with all the work we have to do to the post production and getting it to the agent and getting everything done, uh, it just leaves no room for error. So if you like to undercommit and overperform, you
Yeah.
know having, not trying to push everything into a next day. And for a real estate agent, the challenge always with a seller, because I've been a real estate agent, been doing this for so many years, I know, a seller, they say, "Hey, congratulations, I'm ready to list my house with you. Oh, no, by the way, I want it on by this Friday. I want it on by this weekend. I don't want to miss the market." So it's always a rush to get it to market.
Mm,
But in working with agents over the years, those agents that have a little bit more strategy and getting the house staged, getting it ready, getting it prepared, and having a little bit more time to get it on the market right, is always, I love doing those jobs. Especially when it comes to video. Some agents will come to me and say, "Well, I'd love to do a video, and I'd like to have we did one the other day where the agent was actually was she pulled up her phone. She was talking to Siri, and she says, "Siri, I'd like to find a home." Well, they gave some information, and all of a sudden Siri says, "Sure," and bam, the agent disappears and reappears in the house. And Siri is actually talking to the agent, telling her about the house. It's really creative.
Wow.
Well, we couldn't do that video in just 2 days. It took I believe 5 days to get that scripted, get it worked out. So sometimes if you want to do like a creative video or something, you just need more time. So
Mm,
we always ask the agent, what's when are you bringing it to market? Because we might say, well, you can't do that. you know, we need a little more time for that. So, but for the photos, they're very efficient. We can do a next day or a 2 day delivery.
wow, that's interesting. Thank you so much for your time.
Very
Um,
much.
I can ask you questions all day, but
Yeah. People's
but
attention span is, only so long.
but I'm sure of one thing. I know you bring value. I know you bring value to the table, and I've worked with you on a few. Should I say at least all my listings in Tennessee have been with you. So thank you for the service. Thank you
I
for all.
appreciate your business. Thank you.
I look
Thank
forward to
you.
doing more with you. And so if you're joining us at the end of this video, I just want to share with you, go back and watch it. This is something that would bless you in terms of knowledge and something to gain. If you're looking to sell your house, you want to reach out to us and use their services, or at least take good photos.
Yes. At least
Until
take good photos. Yes.
next time, we'll talk to you again. Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.